My real concern is that Delhi is already lagging behind in a lot of areas. And a huge city like Delhi, if it has to start making up, it will go through that whole mess of a period that Bangalore and Bombay went through, which will be very painful, very difficult to make up, and of considerable problem to life in that city. And I hope Delhi does not have to go through that crisis, because if we miss the opportunity of the next 5 years, things, may be in trouble. BJP is a job in which you are constantly doing an interview. And, all these activities were her being interviewed by the senior boss. So, they see a long career of what you're doing. So every time she sent an abusive tweet, it was like an answer to a question on her interview. Every time she abused institutions her party wanted her to abuse, she was doing that. So I think having answered those questions quite confidently in a 15-year interview that she undertook with the BJP, she's got her job now. I have not seen BJP really looking at the whole issue of what Delhi needs more threadbare. Most of their announcements and what they've done in the last few months of planning have actually been rather haphazard. It's not been planned. I haven't seen BJP working on what is called urban governance in any other part of India. Most of it has been heavy infrastructure focused. And that heavy infrastructure focus is not the only thing you have to do in a state like Delhi. Delhi is a city where people used to come for employment. Today, Delhi people are unemployed, and BJP doesn't really know what to do about employment. We are getting into a state situation where we are getting into deficits almost for the first time in Delhi's history, ever since it's become a semi-state, and BJP has not been able to handle fiscal problems anywhere in India. But I think the way BJP acted in the 50s and 60s is how Aam Aadmi Party, some leaders, act on critical minority issues when it comes to now. I mean, the way they acted on the CA issue, the way they acted on the Markaz part. So they just lag behind the BJP 20-25 years, because right now they want to give a broader appeal to voters. So the dislike of Kejriwal was so much that they did not trust the Congress for not supporting him later on. So they said that let's give a comprehensive and a clear mandate to the BJP. They were voting against Mr. Kejriwal. They were not voting for BJP or for anybody else, which I keep saying that even if there was an alliance, Kejriwal would have still won. People who say that an alliance could have changed the equation in Delhi actually don't really know what was happening in Delhi. Most of the votes that came to Delhi would not have gone to the Aam Aadmi Party. Let me be very clear. Almost anybody for the last 10-11 years, we are still a party of relevance that people talk about us. So I think that should give us some hope. But last part, organizationally and in terms of workers, we are in very serious trouble. Much worse than what people think.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Delhi today has got its 9th chief minister. Just a short while back, or rather a few hours ago, Rekha Gupta was sworn in as Delhi's chief minister. Now, BJP has tried to send out a message to the women voters that they want to include women in the electoral process. Apart from that, she's a fresh face, no controversies, so to say, except for few old tweets and few old videos which have resurfaced and would say that she is using an abusive language and she is saying things which a CM face should not be saying. But apart from that, it looks like a clean slate, and it looks like a BJP's tried and tested strategy of bringing in dark horses as the CM faces. But the big question is that will Rekha Gupta be a puppet CM? Will she be able to leave a legacy like Sheila Dikshit? Joining me now, a very special guest, Sandeep Dikshit, former Lok Sabha MP, and also someone who contested from the New Delhi constituency recently in the Delhi elections. Thank you so much, Sandeep Dikshit, for joining on HW News Network. It's a pleasure having you on this evening. And your first thoughts... Sandeep, on Rekha Gupta becoming the chief ministerial face. And do you think that projecting a woman chief minister is just a tokenism, or BJP really is wanting to send a serious message?
First of all, I think the name is surprising because she was not amongst the more well-known faces in the BJP. But the way they've been selecting their other CMs, as in the case of Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan, or in other places, they did give names that are a surprise. The only thing common being that they are a little more engaged with the broader RSS ideology rather than not completely immersed in that. I think that's the only common thing. And the fact that you may have a few remarks that are not considered particularly good to make on public platforms, or at least till some years ago were considered, reprehensible or downright wrong. People who make those remarks somehow get these opportunities when they pick up somebody out of a hat a little more than others. But that's okay. My first thing is, I think let's wish them well and see what they're going to do. They have a pretty ambitious agenda. I know a little bit of the financial conditions of Delhi government, so things are not going to be very easy. I also hope that because they've actually been elected on an agenda of development, and people seem to have not had a very good experience with the previous government in the last 7-8 years, 6-7 years at least. Right? There's a lot of hope in which they've got elected. So I hope they can match up that, because the problem will not be that their matching up may or may not lead to a change of government after 4 or 5 years. My real concern is that Delhi is already lagging behind in a lot of areas. And a huge city like Delhi, if it has to start making up, it will go through that whole mess of a period that Bangalore and Bombay went through, which will be very painful, very difficult to make up, and of considerable problem to life in that city. And I hope Delhi does not have to go through that crisis, because if we miss the opportunity of the next 5 years, things may be in trouble. And can a person who's not really been experienced in running a government or handling critical issues, can she handle that? I don't know, but let us give her benefit of the doubt.
Okay, so granted the benefit of doubt that it's a new beginning she's making, and let's all of us give a chance. But of course, the questions remain that will she be able to assert herself, given the dominance of the center, and we have the same government, same party, both in the center and the state. Do you think that Rekha Gupta really will be able to assert herself, or rather she will prove herself as a rubber stamp CM?
No, I don't think she'll be able to assert herself because Delhi is too close to the center. We've been hearing news and information even in states that are far away from the center, especially of the CMs that have come in the last 3 or 4 years. In many of them, their cases, there are constant stories that are coming out. Stories not just by outsiders, but people from the government, people from the BJP who have not been favored by the dispensation. Remarks here and there, some statements that come up, that some of these chief ministers are there more in name than as far as their real impact is concerned. And I think in her case, at least for the first few months, maybe this would be the case. But of course, as I said, people can surprise you. But I don't think at the level of sharing of power, you get any surprises in the BJP. Because if you do, then you are surprised by the fact that somebody even more unknown can replace you.
But if you look at the history of the 14 CMs which BJP has, we hardly hear anyone except for Yogi Adityanath who does a loud thinking and a loud talking. We don't see anyone talking except that they'll try and match up those words with the center, and they'll never have the audacity or the courage to speak against their own government. So that's what the worry is, that in a city like Delhi, which needs much more to be done, and people of course will start comparing this era with the era of Sheila Dikshit, and as your campaign also revived the legacy of Sheila Dikshit, so will Rekha Gupta really do justice to her job? And here comparisons are natural, that will she be able to do what Sheila Dikshit did?
See, first of all, I think comparing with Yogi Adityanath is not fair, because Yogi Adityanath, you may like him, not like him, but had a legitimacy as a politician. He was there for many years. He was elected. He had his own standing. So at least Yogi Adityanath had a structure, a following, maybe only in his region, but at least had something of that kind. These people are almost fresh. They are kind of unknown. And having been a corporator and a councillor, and we all know what corporators and councillors, as far as Delhi is concerned, mean. So it's not something that can give you a lot of confidence. whether she'll be able to match up to the, I won't say forget periods of previous chief ministers, but would she be able to match up to the challenges that Delhi needs today with the kind of same enthusiasm and perhaps level of success that one or two of her predecessors did? As of right now, I have a few doubts. Okay, I have not seen BJP really looking at the whole issue of what Delhi needs more threadbare. Most of their announcements and what they've done in the last few months of planning have actually been rather haphazard. It's not been planned. I haven't seen BJP working on what is called urban governance in any other part of India. Most of it has been heavy infrastructure focused. And that heavy infrastructure focus is not the only thing you have to do in a state like Delhi. For example, even the Congress regime were known for big infrastructure, but there were thousands of other things they did, which made that infrastructure of some meaning to people. I've not seen them commenting. For example, I don't really know what BJP thinks with regard to issues of sanitation, what they're really thinking with regard to higher education. Nobody has any idea what they're thinking of for health except for health insurance. I don't know what is their idea with regard to ecology and environment, because their work on climate change has been actually pretty pathetic. What are they looking at? Employment. Delhi is a city where people used to come for employment. Today, Delhi people are unemployed, and BJP doesn't really know what to do about employment. We are getting into a state situation where we are getting into deficits almost for the first time in Delhi's history, ever since it's become a semi-state, and BJP has not been able to handle fiscal problems anywhere in India. So the party's experience, which means the experience of the leadership who may indirectly run Delhi, and the fact that she herself is inexperienced and so is her cabinet, at least on paper or prima facie does not give you much confidence. But then I hope I'm surprised, because while I'm a member of the Congress, I'm also a citizen of Delhi. And while it might delight me that my government fails as a congressman, I don't think it'll make me very happy as a citizen if my government fails, because I also have to live in this city.
Right. In fact, Sandeep ji, I just short while back, I saw one visual where Kapil Mishra was entering the secretariat, and as soon as he entered, there were chants of Jai Shri Ram. Not that anything is wrong with that chant, but I never heard a chant like that inside Delhi secretariat. We covered Delhi government a lot many times when Sheila Dikshit used to be there. I used to be there at her doorstep almost every day, but never, and even during Kejriwal's regime, I have never seen slogans of Jai Shri Ram being raised on the first day of the new government entering the secretariat. What would you really say to that, and what can we expect if chants of Jai Shri Ram are being done inside the secretariat? What else can we expect now?
Look, I think chants, as I said, I mean, this is their USP. So I think they need to chant that, although you should not do that in a government building, but I would like to leave it at that. But my thing is that, there have been leaders in the past in Delhi who have done pretty successful governments while having their religious beliefs, I think, unquestioned, at least in Mrs. Dikshit's time, that was the case, and yet having delivered. So I don't think slogans will help you deliver. I mean, slogans are there. We respect these slogans. They also, they are not just the domain of the BJP. But if you want only them, I hope they realize that you can make these slogans to say, enthuse some, warm blood into your workers and others. Beyond that, it's going to be applying your mind. And that mind has to look at things scientifically. It has to look at things, with the proper appreciation. It has to look at things with looking everyone and every place of Delhi as your own. It has to look at the fact that Delhi is a city for all Indians, which includes everybody living in Delhi of any hue, any community, any color, any caste, any community, any language. And if you can understand them in their context, in the context of their habitat, in the context of their needs, in which, and in a city, almost all these needs are challenging. In a village, you can dig a small thing and get water. In Delhi, if you have to arrange water, thousands of crores have to be spent. So I think if you can do that with that seriousness, then I don't have a problem with whatever symbols and slogans you want to raise. You're most welcome to do that. Problem sometimes that happen with the BJP is that they stop at this. I hope when they invoke the name of Lord Ram, and Lord Ram is as dear to me as to anybody else, they actually also invoke what actually would mean to anybody the word called Ram Raj. And I think they never talk about that. And I think what inspires me about Lord Ram is, his image as a Maryada Purushottam, his image of Ram Raj. And I think those are what, at least in governance, we look at. So for people who want to follow the Lord, and invoke his name whenever they want to do things. I hope they also follow the example that he set, for which he was known as both Maryada Purushottam and his role as implementing what is called Ramraj, which is to many of us an ideal form of a government.
Right. But while as we speak, there are several old tweets of Rekha Gupta which are doing the rounds where she's used an abusive language. Then there is a video clip where she says JNU ko band kar dena chahiye. Wahan ke chhatra महंगी jeans pehante hain. Then she says they carry phones worth 1 lakh rupees and then they are crying for free electricity. That is one clip which is doing the rounds. There's one clip in which she's seen indulging in a fist fight, and that was during the MCD elections where she's throwing off the podium, throwing off the mic. Now, do you believe that she's been rewarded for all what she has done so far? Because is it competence what has paid off? Is it loyalty to the party which has paid off? Or is it all these extra activities which seems to have paid off, and probably that's the reason she's got the post of the CA?
Neeraj, BJP, BJP is a job in which you are constantly doing an interview. And, all these activities were her being interviewed by the senior boss. So, they see a long career of what you're doing. So every time she sent an abusive tweet, it was like an answer to a question on her interview. Every time she abused institutions her party wanted her to abuse, she was doing that. So I think having answered those questions quite competently in a 15-year interview that she undertook with the BJP, she's got her job now. So I think she realizes that this is what is a competence for which she has been rewarded today. Many people are saying that look at BJP, it can reward any worker to be at any post. First of all, in the normal practice in India, you reward leaders who lead ideas, who lead workers, who lead people's aspirations, right? And that is why in politics, leadership has a role. Rewarding workers, rewarding foot soldiers is also fine. But when they say rewarding workers and rewarding foot soldiers, they're actually rewarding the extreme representatives of the kind of the ideology which they hope will one day become the de facto and the de jure ideas of India.
Absolutely. In fact, Sandeepji, Delhi is a cosmopolitan city which needs inclusivity. And here there are certain areas of Delhi which have almost been like ghettoized. And those are the Muslim-dominated areas. And I'm reminded of the 2020 Delhi riots which happened. And now you have people in the cabinet who in a way dog whistled big time. They spoke of hate, they spoke of animosity, and those people now are in the saddle of power. Do you think that they will be able to restore confidence? Will they be able to inspire trust in the people of Delhi? Of course, 50% of the people, or rather 44% of the people have voted for Delhi, but there is a huge chunk which has not voted for the BJP. And what happens now? Will BJP be able to restore confidence in that section of the society of Delhi?
I don't know. Normally, what I've seen of BJP governments is that when they use or when these extreme instances happen, they either they promote it or they don't promote. I'm not getting into that. But whenever such extreme instances like the Delhi riots happen, they milk it politically quite well. Having done that milking and having got from one level of politics to another, having won certain kinds of popularity, they don't always revisit it except in times of elections. I think they balance it out very well, which is where very often they make this statement that whenever there are BJP governments, there aren't any communal instances. So, it's a very well-balanced act that they sometimes do, which at least I believe that they sometimes do. So I don't know whether they're going to get into that or not. But there is a problem, there is a genetic issue. If you remember, there's a recently elected MLA from Patparganj who went around, blaming him a bulldozer chala dunga. This is a genetic issue. What do you do with that? It's like, sorry, I don't want to give a bad example, but it's like what happens whenever we see a reptile. We just react in a particular way. And with some kinds of people, people with this kind of a gene in the BJP, they just react in a particular way. Because they are trained and they are in the BJP and they are in senior roles of the BJP because they have that kind of a gene in them. I don't want to stereotype anybody, but with some of them, you get this feeling. So some people, I think it will be difficult for them to get wrapped, in another form or become other kind of people just because they are in government. But I hope, because this is the capital, because there's something that happens here is not something that I think even this government of India would really find acceptable. I think things would not go as bad as what some people might think may happen in Delhi.
But Sandeep ji, to talk to you honestly, if I may ask you, when you were contesting from the New Delhi constituency, of course, a lot of hope was there that, you will be able to win, and you revived the legacy of Sheila Dikshit. But even then, Pravesh Verma won from there. Now that you look at the results in the hindsight, do you think which option was better? Was it Aam Aadmi Party or was BJP a better option now that BJP has won the election and they are in power?
Look, I've always stated that I find very little difference between the two. Okay, Aam Aadmi Party, because it also wants to attract minority votes, sometimes doesn't say it as widely, or its people don't practice it as vehemently as the BJP does. But when it comes to critical issues, Aam Aadmi is not seen standing there. It's like the BJP of the 60s or 50s. It didn't have people, raising fisticuffs or encouraging bulldozers, because there was a different era, right? They were far softer. It's like saying the mild face of the BJP. There is no mild face of the BJP. But I think the way BJP acted in the 50s and 60s is how Aam Aadmi Party, some leaders, act on critical minority issues when it comes to now. I mean, the way they acted on the CA issue, the way they acted on the Marcus part. So they just lag behind the BJP 20-25 years, because right now they want to give a broader appeal to voters. And please remember, it's sometime in the 1990s or late 1990s and early 2000s, especially with the new leadership coming in the BJP, when they realized that we need not look at minority vote at all. We've been able to consolidate the minority vote thanks to the Ram Mandir movement or whatever else they did, that we don't need to now look as as liberal or for every human being as much as we used to look earlier on. And they started taking more stronger stances, at least publicly, while privately they may have thought the same even earlier on. So I think I don't find really much of a difference between what the Aam Aadmi Party thinks and what BJP thinks. There may be members in the Aam Aadmi Party, who are a lot more different because they've come from different backgrounds. But otherwise, is there really a difference between the two? I don't think so. So when many people tell me that we've got an option that could be far worse, I don't know. I've seen them in the Northeast Delhi riots. And if a government, when it comes to a critical thing like a riot, is not seen on the ground, if you're not seeing as even there, if you just want to play this game that it is government of India's responsibility, in a situation like a riot, when even a normal person comes out to give succor to their neighbor or anybody they like, and a government is found wanting and not being on the streets, their officers hiding behind their office building, then you realize that there is a serious issue in this government. So are they really different? I don't know.
No, but as you said, that Aam Aadmi Party currently looks like a softer version or a milder version of BJP. So which means that, do you believe that Delhi is now in dangerous hands and one has to really be very cautious?
Well, we always have to be cautious. When a party like the BJP comes to power, we always have to be cautious. But as I said, in the beginning of a government, let's just hope for the best. Let's hope, things are better than before. There have been people in the BJP who have gone against predictions and done, sometimes some good things. Though most of the time, they stick to the script. Or almost 90% of the time they stick to the script. So let me just hope for the best right now. I know all the issues that will come up. As I said, the videos of the MLA from Patparganj has shown that. The reason why they've selected the current CM, wishing her all the best nevertheless, why they have selected her is quite obvious. Some of the ministers that have come into the cabinet quite clearly, are pretty amazing examples of what BJP can be like. So they've stuck to the script. They've got actors in the play who will act the way they want. Their dialogue delivery will be in the manner in which the BJP wants it. So I won't be surprised if things that we don't want to happen in Delhi can start happening. But Neeluji, there's another thing. Law and order in Delhi is in any case in the hands of the central government. So there's only so much little that the Delhi government can do to vitiate that kind of an atmosphere, right? Those were already in the reins of government of India. So a change in the Delhi government, can he really make too much of a difference there? I don't know. Of course, they will do. They will take a look at education curriculum. They will look at issues of demolition. They will look at encroachments. They will look at many of these things. They may also bring in some schemes or the other, but let's wait and see. Obviously, they will. The other thing is, I think a lot of it will happen after 3.5 years. Because what BJP does is, it looks at its own electoral prospects in the last 1.5, 2 years, and then starts tinkering with this whole thing of throwing money onto people, or getting new caste equations done, or communalizing the atmosphere. And of course, as happened in this election, also throwing money when the election happens. But that's in the last 1 month. So they always do course corrections after 3.5, 4 years, which is one of the reasons why they keep winning elections. And in that course corrections, I think they are quite, they're quite clear, because they have only one agenda, which is to win an election. And if they need to be not excite passions, they will not. If they think they need to excite passions, they will.
Right. But how do you see the role of the lieutenant governor? Because he was a man who was seen using a spanner between always, as far as the state policies were concerned, or any decision taken by the former government. Now that the agenda is fulfilled, BJP is in power, and we have the similar government, or a double engine government in Delhi. So how does one see it? How does one see the role of the LG? Will LG become redundant, because BJP also executes a use and throw policy? So will LG's role almost become redundant now?
No, it cannot be. Even if it was an LG appointed by Aam Aadmi Party, LG would have a role in Delhi. Even in Congress period, LG had a role. And I can tell you, even when Mrs. Dikshit was ruling, it's not that every LG supported her on everything, and she also had her problems with the LGs. It's the way and manner in which you can get things done, and where I think Arvind Kejriwal miscalculated. He thought he could play this David Goliath battle for too long. You can't do it all the time. I'm not saying, I'm not blaming, or I'm not taking any blame away from the LG, but what I'm saying is, you are the elected person. You have to come back next time. Excuses run for a while, not continuously. Okay, so I think he miscalculated in the end. But I think the LG continues to play a role. You must have recently seen that the LG has been making pronouncement with regarding cleaning the Yamuna. Now, 2022, the Supreme Court has come down with a very heavy hand on the cleaning of Yamuna, and initiated a lot of measures with regard to new sewage treatment plants, etc. Unfortunately, that's something Kejriwal could have done. Why he didn't do, only he is answerable. But those will come into place. They are being undertaken under supervision of the LG, constituted by a committee by the High Court. So he will play a role as far as cleaning of Yamuna is concerned. The role of the DDA, the role of the police will be there. But will he have the same control or not? I don't think he took too much of a control. I think people politicized it much more than they should have, and they shouldn't have done that. I think if he hadn't done that, probably he would have worked more, he would have won the election. But what I would say is that both for the case of the LG and the government, this government doesn't have any excuses. See, it has no excuses at all. The government of India in Delhi has to perform. Delhi government has to perform, and now that they've got some AAP corporators onto their bandwagon, and I'm sure more will move in, they'll have no excuses in the MCD either. And please remember, they actually did a pathetic job as far as in their 15 years in the MCD. I mean, the same Rekha ji, the MCD that the BJP ran for 15 years has nothing noteworthy to talk about. Last time they lost that MCD also. So given that experience, I think they better be careful. They have aroused a lot of hopes. Right, and only sloganeering won't get them anywhere. They will just have to perform. And this time, LG, no LG, police, no police, home minister, no home minister, nobody will be able to help them if they don't perform.
Obviously, yeah, they will not have any excuses. You're certainly right. But coming to the growth of Congress in Delhi, how do you see that? And did the elections 2025, even though Congress didn't win and do well, but are there reasons for Congress to hope now for the next elections in 2030?
Neeluji, there are 2-3 things that happened in this election. One is, when we started putting our campaign up, I think the agenda that we started setting up, people in Delhi accepted. Development was not being talked of 2 months ago. Everybody was talking of freebies. We started talking of development, and it did become a discussion point in Delhi. And at least we were able to demolish the fact of the huge claims of Mr. Kejriwal. That was very, very clearly done. And BJP, except for Sheesh Mahal and Yamuna, didn't talk of any third thing. I mean, they didn't even know what was really happening in Delhi. I think what happened is this constant thing that BJP, Congress is nowhere there. For example, in my constituency, in the last 5-7 days, a lot of people were telling me that, we'd like to vote for you, but you're not winning. So, and the other thing is, so Muslims went back to Aam Aadmi, Dalits moved back to the Aam Aadmi, and the pro-development voter, very, very clearly, at least in my constituency, in a lot of places, and I'll tell you, in the last week, I was hearing this ad nauseum, that, you are ultimately going to join Aam Aadmi. So the dislike of Kejriwal was so much that they did not trust the Congress for not supporting him later on. So they said that let's give a comprehensive and a clear mandate to the BJP. They were voting against Mr. Kejriwal. They were not voting for BJP or for anybody else, which I keep saying that even if there was an alliance, Kejriwal would have still won. People who say that an alliance could have changed the equation in Delhi actually don't really know what was happening in Delhi. Most of the votes that came to Delhi would not have gone to the Aam Aadmi party. Let me be very clear. More than 50% of that would have gone to the BJP. So the BJP's margins, which are actually right now 2.5-3%, would have actually been more. And at least that's what my experience from the field is. So I think we could not read that, and perhaps much of the questions that were asked of us, that we were not looking as a party really serious in the fight. Now, whether there's reality to that or not, I'm not getting into it, but that did get into the voters' mind. In the first 15-20 days, it wasn't there. But in the last 15-20 days, they somehow thought that Congress may not be as serious. And the comments of the Indian leaders, all kinds of comments came, comments that we are not there, we are not fighting, we'll ultimately join them. Suppose there is a hung assembly, who will be, vote for? It was clear that we couldn't go with the BJP. So that lost us a lot of vote. I would have been happy if we were 10 to 12% at least of the vote. That has not happened, so it's not a matter of great happiness for us. I don't care who won or who lost politically, I'm saying. In terms of ideology and all, it's a separate thing. But I think it gives us a great opportunity that Congress is still heard. In spite of the fact that we haven't won, we don't have almost anybody for the last 10-11 years, we are still a party of relevance that people talk about us. So I think that should give us some hope. But last part, organizationally and in terms of workers, we are in very serious trouble. Much worse than what people think.
Right. So that's a candid admission you're making, and very rarely we hear an admission like this. But maybe in some other episode, we can talk about the larger troubles or the larger agony of Congress, maybe sometimes later. But to end the program, Ved, wanting to ask you a very candid question, because Delhi elections was just not a Congress fight for you. It was a sense of deja vu, in the sense that your mom, Sheila Dikshit, was her constituency as far as New Delhi is concerned. And many people said on the social media that today Sandeep Dikshit would be a satisfied man because he, in a way, has taken the revenge for his mother, Sheila Dikshit, when Kejriwal lost. And nobody thought that Kejriwal would lose a constituency like New Delhi, just exactly like the way people used to think for Sheila Dikshit. So does it give you a sense of deja vu? Do you feel that, okay, you've been the giant slayer in a way? If Pravesh Verma has won it for BJP, you've done your bit in defeating Kejriwal. So you're also would be in that category of a giant slayer as far as Kejriwal is concerned.
It's satisfaction because, a person who abused the Congress and, built the kind of environment that ultimately weakened us, that person is lost. So it's a satisfaction. But it's not something to make us happy. I mean, we haven't won. I would have been happy if we had got 14%, 15% vote, 16, 17% vote. We probably had 6-7 MLAs. Aam Aadmi winning or BJP winning wouldn't make too much of a difference to us. But I think if we had done that, then I would have been happy that yes, it's been a leap for the Congress. Yet it still leaves us an opportunity. And I think if we are able to cash in on that, maybe 4.5 years later, hopefully you'll be talking of who that morning from the Congress was sworn in. Let's just hope that.
Wish you all the best, Sandeep ji. Thank you so much for joining on HW. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.